With this here, this ain't about being flashy. This is game day, son. It's only about one thing. Getting that W. That's the only thing that matters right now. Boy, you ready?
The past is the past, you know? It's a new day, bro. My day. Gotta do it now.
Hey guys, Blindside Fantasy Football back for another podcast. Joined with Matt tonight. No Rob, he couldn't make it, but we're going to go over last night's game, preview the Week 6 games, and then Matt and I are going to go over some of our bold predictions here. But before we jump into the Thursday night game, we just want to say a little bit of a somber note here at Blindside. Obviously the news about Adrian Peterson today was very shocking to everybody. If you've been living under a rock and haven't heard, Adrian Peterson's 2-year-old son, it's even tough to talk about. He viciously abused by the baby's mom's boyfriend. Obviously, there was serious injuries involved. He was in critical condition for the last couple of days, and then right before we began this podcast, found out that his son did pass away. Just very, very sad. I just want to say, first and foremost, I tweeted this earlier when we knew that this was an issue. I know myself and everybody at Blindside, our prayers are out to Adrian Peterson and his family. And as far as we're concerned, we're going to talk about no fantasy implications of this at all. Fantasy is just that. It's a game. It's a game that we all play. Gives us our, little bit of our, thing to kind of keep our mind off of real life and kind of just that fun, entertaining thing to do. And obviously, this is much, much more serious than that. So we are at no means ever going to talk about the fantasy implications of this. When it comes to Sunday, and Matt and I and Rob all answer some Twitter questions. If you have questions like, should I start Greg Jennings over, T.Y. Hilton, things like that, we will answer. But don't ask us about, do you think Matt Castle is going to throw the ball more without Adrian Peterson potentially being there this weekend, because we will not answer those questions. And to be quite honest, I know myself, I can't speak for Matt or Rob, but if you ask any questions about Adrian Peterson's effect on your fantasy team or any other player, not only will I not answer it, but I will actually block you, because there's just no place for those questions, nor should there be. Matt, you're a Vikings fan. Is there anything you wanted to add?
No, I mean, I everything you said, I completely agree. I'm not interested in talking about what this means in fantasy. Like you said, we're just having fun. This is a game. This is a terrible, terrible incident. Take as much time as he needs. As much time as he needs. That's what I say. This is awful, but I agree with everything you said. So it's awful. I don't even know what to say. It's tough.
Yeah, I do really hope that Peterson does take some time off personally, but. Again,
whatever works best for him, though. If he needs to play, because that makes him, whatever he needs to do is okay. But it's just you don't even know what to say. So might as well just move on. But
yeah,
terrible.
Let's move on. But again, I can't stress it enough. We're not going to talk about the fantasy implications of this, neither on the podcast nor on Twitter. So please, just don't even ask. Consider this a warning to everybody. Just don't even ask any of us about it, because we're not going to answer it. So, trying to move now into obviously last night's game, the Giants and the Bears. I guess there's no question as to who the Giants' lead running back is now. Obviously, Brandon Jacobs kind of stole the show and kind of ran with it. 22 carries, 106 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Going to be probably one of the top pickups this week, given the severity of David Wilson's injury. They're saying right now that Wilson's going to be out 3 weeks, possibly the season, and it sounds as if Wilson himself isn't very optimistic onto whether or not he'll play for the rest of the season. I just want to say, I think we saw a great game out of Jacobs last night, but I think we need to temper the expectations a little bit, though. Going into this game, Jacobs had more touches than yards, so just really wasn't getting it done until this game. But Matt, what are your thoughts on Brandon Jacobs?
I mean, he did it against a pretty good run defense, and defense in general. They're a pretty good defense in Chicago, but um, he looked great. He looked absolutely outstanding, and as the game was going on, I was watching my budget go flying out the door until you think about some things. He's an older guy. Andre Brown's going to be back probably week 10, 11. So, what's going to happen then? And you got to remember too, the Giants aren't a very good team. They're not going to be in a lot of games. I don't think. I don't think they're going to be able to run the ball as much as they did this game. So yeah, I agree with you. Temper your expectations. Great game. Definitely, you need some running backs. Pick them up. But I think when Andre Brown comes back, he's going to get some work for sure. Don't you agree?
Yeah, I mean Jacobs should definitely be owned in all leagues. That's for sure. Yep. But to what you said, Andre Brown will probably be the guy when he comes back. And then, like Matt said, we've been saying it all year that offensive line has been terrible. I mean, I'd have to go back and look, but I would almost say, I mean, obviously David Wilson had more yards in these first few games than obviously this 106 that Jacobs had yesterday. But I bet it's a lot closer than you'd expect. This is a team that just can't run the ball because that offensive line is just a sieve and just letting people through. So, I mean, I think we need to temper expectations a little bit. Again, a guy that you should definitely own, but don't go crazy on this because he's going to be a guy that there's going to be a lot more 20 carries for 60-yard type games than these 20 carries for 100 yards.
Yeah, and even the 20 carries, like I said, how many times do you think we're really going to see that again?
Yeah. Eli Manning, obviously still terrible. Just 239 yards, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions. We all saw the stat watching the game last night. 2 interceptions in the first 5 passes. Just, God, is he terrible. Hakeem Nicks leads the team in receiving for the second straight week. Not really much there. Still only had 70 yards, but just something to take note of that he's, getting a decent amount of work right up there with Cruz. Not that far back, I should say, from Victor Cruz. Obviously there's still some separation there, but I think Cruz is a top 10 guy. And I think Nicks is probably a top 20 guy going forward, but not that crazy drop off that everybody expected after he had those first few bad games. And then obviously Bears side of the ball, the receiving game. Brandon Marshall was definitely back in this game. Had 2 touchdowns on 11 targets. Jeffrey a little disappointing with just 1 reception, but still finished with 5 targets. Had 27 yards receiving, another 15 yards on an end around. Matt, I got to ask you, where do you think Jeffrey will rank next week against Washington?
I mean, you love the matchup there. You also liked it last night. I think he's going to be a top 25 guy, top 30 guy for me. Marshall definitely, he had a big game this game, and I kind of expected that. I really agreed with Matthew Berry from ESPN, a guy, I really respect him. He brought up a great point. A lot of the attention was on Jeffrey, so you expected Marshall to have a big game. Jeffrey's a good player. I mean, big body, good talent. Last night they looked a little bit out of sync, but that's kind of been the not the norm. Usually they've been looking good together. So I'd have him probably around 25, 30. What are you thinking for him?
I think it's probably that same range, the 25 to 30 range. Flex worthy.
Yep.
Maybe obviously he has that I think top 15, top 20 upside because of the matchup. But I think rest of the season, that's probably where he's going to be is 25, probably 25 range. I think going into this game, he was the number 7 wide receiver in standard scoring, which obviously is not something that he was going to continue doing for the rest of the year, but still will be flex worthy, wide receiver 3 worthy. So definitely a guy that you want to have in your team and have in your lineups. Just a quick note: the next few weeks that he does play, he does have pretty good matchups coming up. So I think he's a guy that will be in your starting lineup as a flex guy or wide receiver 3 for probably the foreseeable future.
Yeah, and this game we really saw 2 of the best, the coin phrase that you had with the wide receiver handcuff. We saw both of them in this game, Randall and Jeffrey, 2 guys that definitely need to be owned in every league, guys that I like.
So Bengals and Bills, C.J. Spiller still banged up in this game, but looking like he's going to be a go. I think it's great news because I think the Bills are going to rely more on the run with Thad Lewis as the quarterback. Fred Jackson, he's a guy that we talked about a couple weeks ago. 4 out of 5 games this year with 16-plus touches. Has had double-digit fantasy points in every game this year. Matt, how do you feel the Bills are going to play this weekend against the Bengals? Do you think there's going to be more of a run game, or what do you think is going to happen here?
I mean, I agree with you. Yeah, Thad Lewis is starting. He's an undrafted quarterback. Not a guy you're going to look to throw the ball over the field with. So when you've got two tailbacks like they do there in Buffalo, certainly they got to feed him the ball. But let's see if they can sustain drives with that. Hopefully Spiller's going to be, healthy this week. Obviously last week he did okay for you in the fantasy, but it was based on that one play where you saw a burst, and then it was like he was, all right, I'm done, limping off the field. So, yeah, I think I agree with you. The thing is just going to be, can they sustain those drives against a decent, Bengals defense?
Yeah, that is true. It's going to be hard to sustain drives when you're running the ball, 40, 50 times this game. But I think it's something that they're going to have to do with Thad Lewis, obviously, as the quarterback. Coming off the practice squad to be your starting quarterback, it's never a good situation.
Right.
It's going to be real, real scary. I think both of us actually this week had the Bengals as the number one defense because of the whole Thad Lewis situation.
Yep.
AJ Green, though, just on the Bengals side here, averaging under 50 receiving yards the last 4 games. So rest of the season, I have to ask you, AJ Green or Brandon Marshall?
In the beginning of the year, I think we both had them 2 and 3 respectively, but I'm switching it. I'm going with Marshall.
Yeah, I think you have to at this point. I mean, even with a couple of quote-unquote down games that Brandon Marshall has had, he's still getting you 60, 70 yards, so he's still getting it done for you, not the 40 and 50-yard stinkers that A.J. Green's been putting up. What about Torrey Smith? Torrey Smith and A.J. Green, which one would you rather have rest of the season?
A.J. Green. But Torrey's not that level for me right now, but he's a guy that's certainly been moving up my charts, and a couple more weeks of it, asking me the question again like he did about the top 15, I think a couple podcasts ago. Game later, I'm switching my mind. Right now, it's still AJ for me, but I could be wrong come in the year, no doubt.
Yeah, it's getting a lot closer. It's definitely one of those things where the name value of AJ Green is kind of keeping him out there a little bit because of that potential.
Yeah.
But here's one that I think is even more interesting, though, probably. AJ Green or Wes Welker?
I'm still saying AJ, but Wes Welker is a stud. No doubt he's going to get his almost every week, it looks like. You know what I mean? Like, he's been bouncing around between the Thomases, Welker's getting his yard. I mean, Decker's getting his yards, but Welker is just, he's always having a good game.
If I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure Wes Welker's had a touchdown in every game this year, and I believe 7 touchdowns already total through these first 5 games. So I got to be honest with you, if I had AJ Green and somebody offered me Wes Welker, I'm taking that deal. I'm not saying I'm obviously bailing on AJ Green, but Wes Welker is, I think, a special guy this year. That those touchdowns aren't going to be consistent. Not going to keep going the way that they're going.
Right. I hope not. Wow.
But I mean, even if they aren't, I still think he's going to be heavily involved. They look to him in the red zone. Red zone, it seems to be Wes Welker and Julius Thomas, and that's where Manning's looking. Obviously, no Sean Moreno getting his runs, but I think he looks to Welker a lot once he gets down inside that 10. Lions and Browns. Megatron looking like he's going to be another game time decision. I think he's a guy that you need to continue to monitor in the early morning inactives. See if he's on that list or not right before kickoff. Usually around noontime Eastern. He's practiced each of the last 2 days, but I thought this was a little funny. He had an interview the other day that was posted by the Lions Twitter account. They kind of posted it up there on YouTube and tweeted it out. The reporter asks him, how's it feel? And Megatron answers, good. And the reporter says, your knee? Megatron, mm-hmm. Good enough to play on Sunday? And then Megatron just, come on, man. And then everybody kind of laughed. So obviously Calvin's not being committal on, not committing on this that, yeah, I'm feeling good, I'm great, I'm going to be out there this weekend. So I think it's something, again, to watch. Sometimes, not always with, a guy like Megatron, but sometimes there's players out there that are, yep, I'm definitely playing this weekend, no question. And obviously the way he wouldn't commit to it here, does give you a little cause for concern. But I got to ask you, Matt, I had the question earlier this week, Cutler versus the Giants or Stafford versus the Browns. Who would you start? So going before last night, not
easy.
Knowing, obviously. It's easy?
For me, yeah. Well, look at my rankings. Pretty simple.
Well,
I had right. I mean, I had Cutler 6, and I think I had Stafford like 10 or 11. I didn't like Stafford's matchup this week because I'm not anticipating Calvin Johnson playing, and even if he does play, with Hayden covering him and not at 100%, he's still Calvin, but he's not going to be, really Calvin. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, no doubt for me, I was trying like hell in our home league to pick Cutler up this week. I put a claim in on him. Even though I have Stafford because I wanted him for the next 2 weeks. So if Cutler's on your waiver wire out there and you're not excited about your quarterback, you got Washington next week too.
Yeah, I told him to play Cutler as well since, Megatron's playing status was up in the air. Let me ask you this. Since the question was so easy, Matt, if you knew Megatron was playing, which one would you go with? It gets a lot tougher now, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Probably Stafford because he's on my home league and I'd stick with him type thing. I honestly, they're that close for me, so probably Stafford. But I loved Cutler. I ranked him 6. I probably was the highest of all of us. I don't know for sure, but
you can kind of see the effect that Megatron has in this game.
Absolutely.
Automatically jump Stafford up that 4, 5, 6 more spots if he plays.
Yeah, you said the 2 names and I interrupted you because I didn't even want to hear the rest. I already knew, but then you throw in Calvin and I'm like,
Makes it a lot tougher.
He's a stud.
One more thing I just want to point out here: the Lions' defense allowing an average of 38 points a game to opposing wide receivers in the last 2 games. Versus the Bears and versus the Packers. So I think we should probably see a pretty good day from Josh Gordon in this game. If obviously the secondary is that bad, Gordon should be able to light them up for a couple of big plays. But the Lions defense actually also allowing 5 rushing touchdowns to running backs through the first 5 weeks. So I'm going to almost guarantee a rushing touchdown from McGahee this week, especially whereas the Lions defense hasn't allowed a touchdown to a tight end this year. So I think once they get in that red zone, they're gonna double up on Cameron. They're gonna do everything they can to make sure that he doesn't get the ball and get McGahee those goal line carries. Matt, what are your thoughts on McGahee in this game?
Yeah, I like McGahee quite a bit. Like you said, Lions are terrible against the run, and look, they went to McGahee a lot last week. He got 7, 8 goal line carries. It was unbelievable, and sometimes when you need that many carries to get it in, it might mean bad things, but it's the fact that the coach obviously believes and had no problem feeding them there. So, yeah, I think they're going to be able to move the ball against them. I wish Hoyer was still there, but hopefully Whedon with a week of practice, lost his job once, can come out and give a decent game. I like McGahee. Like I said earlier, I had him as a running back too. What do you think? You sound like you like it.
I think McGahee is guaranteed for a touchdown in this game. I still hate his yards per carry. I think their running game is not, as effective as you lead them to be. But I think you're right about Whedon. He's had 10 days off in between games, so just something to think about. Give him time to kind of get back on target there with Cameron and Gordon and kind of get back to getting running with the first string guys again. Raiders and Chiefs. Do you think Run DMC plays this week? He got a couple of days in of practice. They got a bye week, next week. Do you think he plays in this game?
I honestly thought there was no chance he was going to be playing based on the fact that, bye week coming up, give him that extra week. It's Run DMC, So I'm surprised, but geez, he's practiced 2 days. If he was close to not playing, you'd think you'd just sit him. So I think he's going to play. Yeah, I do.
The same thing. I got to think that if you were really concerned about him, you wouldn't have him practicing. You just sit him out until next week and have him practice next week. So I'm right there with you. I think he is going to play in this game. Bigger question is, what is his role going to be in this game? Is he going to be limited? Is he going to only be in there for 25 or 30 snaps and only get 10 touches? That remains to be seen, and obviously we won't know until the game starts. But I'd probably put him in that flex category. I wouldn't be relying on him as my running back 1 or running back 2, but as a good flex guy, with that running back 2 upside, I'd be okay with that. Raiders side, Raiders though, I got to say, you think they have an easy defense, but their run defense is only allowing 3.7 yards per carry to running backs this year. So I think they're going to slow down Charles a little bit, but I still got him as a top 5 back this week because of his large involvement in the passing game. The Raiders' defense, although, is allowing 20 points a game to opposing quarterbacks this week. So it should be interesting to see what Terrell Pryor and company can get done against them. Panthers-Vikings, like we kind of said at the top of the show, we're not even going to talk about this game out of respect for Adrian Peterson. So if you have specific questions about how people rank up against other people, you're welcome to ask those on Twitter on Sunday. Again, don't ask how the effects of Adrian Peterson is going to affect those players. If you want to ask strict, do I start this guy over this guy? That's fine. Don't ask for any analysis based on Peterson playing or not playing in this game. Steelers-Jets. Sounds like there's a decent chance here that Antonio Cromartie is going to miss this game. If he does, obviously I think Antonio Brown could produce like a wide receiver 1 this week. Maybe a little bit of a cop-out with him currently being the number 12 wide receiver in fantasy, but I mean, call it what you do. I still think he's going to be a top 10 receiver this week if Cromartie is out. But Le'Veon Bell, I think, even more interesting in this game. He had a big game against Matt's Vikings a couple weeks ago. Jets are allowing under 3 yards per carry to opposing running backs this year, but I had him the highest out of Matt, Rob, and I. I had him at 14 this week. Obviously that might be a little bit high, but I think he's kind of Rashard Mendenhall-like in this offense in that he's going to get 60 to 70 yards rushing and almost guaranteed a touchdown, maybe 2, because he's going to be their new red zone guy. So, Matt, rest of the season, who do you like more, Le'Veon Bell or Knowshon Moreno?
Knowshon Moreno. Le'Veon Bell is on a team that isn't very good there in Pittsburgh. I just, I like him. I certainly like him. I ranked him favorably this week. You really liked him, but that's fine. I can see the touchdown thing. I just don't think he's one of those game breaker type guys, and I'm not comparing him to Moreno in that aspect because neither is he, but I just think the situation isn't as good there in Pittsburgh for me, so that's why I say Moreno. But, a good player to have on your roster for sure.
See, I just like Bell because I think the way, Heath Miller's been banged up. Heath Miller used to be the big red zone guy. So with Miller banged up, I could see them, like I said, going to Bell a lot in that red zone, getting a touchdown, maybe 2 in this game. So another guy rest of the season, Le'Veon Bell or Alfred Morris?
I'll still say Alfred Morris for now, but that's a closer call for me, almost.
All right. And then finally, a guy we just talked about, Darren McFadden.
Le'Veon Bell.
All right. I was going to say, I would definitely go Le'Veon Bell over Morris, I think. But McFadden, I think it's a little bit closer for me because McFadden, when healthy, has been a top 10 running back this year. So I really like McFadden, but obviously injury concerns are something you got to look out for.
Yeah, that's basically exactly why injury. That's it. Look, he's already shown it.
Oh, so is Le'Veon Bell, though.
Right, but he didn't have that, he didn't have that issue in college, really, so I think this was more of a fluke thing, but we'll see, yeah. Maybe it's more of the guy you don't know type thing, but I'm sick of Run DMC, basically.
always getting hurt, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah.
So Eagles-Bucks, it was going to be, the game of 2 backup quarterbacks, Glennon and Foles kind of coming out and being the starters, but Michael Vick, a full participant in practice today. He practiced in limited form the last 2 days. Personally, I think even if Vick does play, I think both teams are going to heavily rely on the run in this game. Martin and McCoy, I think, will have over 100 yards apiece and each have a rushing touchdown. Matt, what are your thoughts? Do you think they're going to rely on the run a little bit more?
I don't know. The Bucks have a great run defense, so I don't know if the Eagles would be able to sustain it. Now, this is a different type of running offense. You know what I mean? So certainly, whenever you're going to get LaShawn and Vic in space, things can happen and skew those yardage, averages for sure.
Real quick, you mentioned how good the Bucks defense is against the run. Only 3.7 yards per carry to running backs this year, and the second best against opposing running backs in fantasy. I personally think that's a little bit misleading because the running backs they faced, week 1, you got the Jets, you had Ivory / Bilal Powell. Then they faced the Saints, so you had Sproles, Ingram, Thomas. Then the Patriots with Stephen Ridley, and then finally, against Arizona with Rashard Mendenhall. So yeah, they have a great yards per carry average, and yeah, they're great against the running back. But I think that's because they haven't really faced a guy like McCoy yet. I mean, none of those guys scare me. What do you think?
Well, it's also based on last year. They were very good against the run D as well. I don't know exactly what they finished. I want to say it was somewhere around 70, 80 yards a game they were letting up. So this is, running on 2 years now. I agree with you as far as the player the caliber of player they faced isn't upper echelon, but they did this last year and they're doing it again this year. So I think it's just what they are. Yeah, I mean, McCoy, like I said, he's a guy, he gets ball in space. He can make things happen. I don't care who your defense is. So can Michael Vick. So if Vick plays, I'm back to love.
It's helping McCoy a little bit more, I think.
Yeah, I agree. Like I said last podcast, I dropped him down to 4. A lot of it had to do with Foles being in the game. I didn't like the matchup. Like I said, I like the Bucs defense, but a lot of it had to do with Foles being in the game. If Vick comes back, he'll move up for me a little bit.
All right. Packers, Ravens. Packers side of the ball, obviously you're starting everybody. That's never going to change throughout the whole season, I don't think. Ravens, I expect the Ravens to be down this game, so I think they're going to throw a little bit more. So I think, Flacco and company will have a fairly good day. Marlon Brown, Jacoby Jones, both questionable this week. Limited participants in Thursday's practice. So I think we're going to see more of Torrey Smith and Ray Rice this game. Both Matt and I and Rob, we all had Torrey Smith as a top 10 play this week. Flacco, ranked 17 by Dugal, number 20 by Rob. I had him all the way at 12th. Matt, what do you think? You had Matt Castle ranked higher than Flacco this week. You're really believing in Castle?
You know what? Maybe I should flop those guys, considering he's playing Green Bay. I don't know. I think
this is going to be a game where he's going to throw the ball 40 times a game, 45 times this game.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. You know what? I agree with you there. I would probably make an adjustment. I do think Castle's going to actually have a surprising game, and if you're in one of those two quarterback leagues, he's a guy to pick up. But no, I agree. Yeah, Flacco should be ahead of him. He is going to throw the ball a lot. The concern is that I think, and what made me mark him at 17, he threw 5 picks in a game. I mean, that doesn't happen much. So if he's throwing 45, uh-oh.
Yeah. So go ahead and start your Packers defense, is what you're saying?
Well, I mean, I don't know. They do have Torrey Smith, and he's a game changer. I'm really starting to get on his bandwagon. So sometimes, you can play as well as you want on defense, but a guy like him can be tough. So, yeah, I mean, could you see some picks coming? Certainly, no question.
I just want to say real quick, too, I wish Rob was here for this podcast because he had Ben Roethlisberger ranked 11th this week. God, we have just given him some ribbon for that one. I mean,
against the Ravens.
Consider this the part of the show.
Oh wait, no, hold on. So Ben Roethlisberger, he ranked. Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, but Ben Roethlisberger against the
11.
Jets. Yeah, at 11.
Wow.
Consider this the part of the show where we would have given Rob a ton of shit, and it would have been 5 minutes of just going off on Rob. So.
Yeah, I guess we get to get off a podcast a little earlier.
We would have just gone nuts on you for that one. So, Rob, you lucked out on that one. We'll have to get you on the next one.
He'll be listening then.
Yeah. Rams, Texans. Owen Daniels on the IR, designated for return. Are you buying into the Garrett Graham hype? I mean, I get the 3 touchdowns in the 5 games so far this year, but has only cracked 30 receiving yards once this year. Are you buying into this? I can't see it. Especially the way that Matt Schaub's been playing.
Yes, yeah, absolutely buying into it. 5 targets or more in all but one game this year as the backup tight end. I know they run a lot of 2 tight end sets, but let's face it, when they're in a passing situation, Owen Daniels is the one running the route primarily. So it's a thing where now you're taking one guy out of the mix. You know what I mean? If Graham was taken out of the mix, you'd move Owen Daniels up.
We've had this argument, though, with Sudfeld coming in for Gronk. Just because they're the same size and the same whatever, they can't
He's shown it.
So,
He's shown it. He's got 3 touchdowns this year. He's a guy that, you just watch him play. He can run. He can catch. He can, he's a good athlete. He's 6'3", 250. He's a good-sized guy. It's a team that features tight ends in the passing attack. So I'm just saying, with Owen Daniels being out of there, a guy that's been averaging about 5 catches a game, where are they going to go if they continue to throw the tight end, Garrett Graham? So, yeah, I like him. Absolutely.
I think each of the last 2 games, Arian Foster's finally had over 20 carries a game. I think we start to see more of that. Just kind of go back to the old school ground and pound game, and we start seeing, Arian Foster get his 20 to 25 carries, and see Ben Tate go back to his 10 to 15 carries, and kind of take the ball out of the hands of Matt Schaub. Speaking of which, actually, I heard a good joke this week that they're actually going to change the name of the pick 6 to the Matt Schaub.
Yeah.
So from now on, when there's a pick 6, you got to call it the Matt Schaub, because that's all he does when he throws.
Somebody said that. That's where this came from. One of the announcers. It might have been like one of the Deons. Who the hell was it? But somebody said that.
I can't remember. But
Eli. Oh, it was in last night's game. Yeah. Eli threw when Eli threw the Matt Schaub. One of the announcers at halftime said it. I forget who it was. I was cracking up.
So in this game too, just real quick, Zach Stacy obviously looking good last week in his debut as the Rams starter. Starting again this game. So Matt, rest of the season, is he a top 25 guy for you? Top 25 running back?
I mean, I put him at 22 this week. The thing with him that's the only thing that scares me. College career, he had 46 receptions I'm pretty sure it was 46 receptions at Purdue in 4 years. So he's not very involved in the passing game. He's going to be a guy that comes out, and if he's splitting carries, how much work's he really going to get? Now, this week will be a big tell for us. If he gets 20 carries this week to Richardson's 7, something like that, then okay, yes. But I still want to see another week before we jump to conclusions. It was 14 to 13 in the carry department, and Richardson's going to be receiving the football when that happens. So I don't know yet.
That's a good point. He didn't have any catches last week as the main guy. Had 14 carries, but obviously came out, seceded some of those carries to Richardson after he got hurt. But you're right, didn't catch a pass the whole game. Rob, I wish he was here, because Rob and I kind of completed a trade earlier this week. Actually yesterday, Alshon Jeffrey for Zach Stacy. What other names do you think, if you were trading Zach Stacy, would have been a viable candidate for him?
You gave Zach Stacy, right? And you got Alshon.
Yes.
Yeah. I think you could have gotten a little more if you waited one more week. But Jeffrey, for you guys' rosters, the way it's set up, and not everybody sees it, but it worked out really well because of what you needed versus what he needed.
And I'm not talking about our trade in general, but I'm just saying.
Yeah. No.
What do you think his value is right now, as it stands?
It stands as, I'd say, a top. Yeah. Right now it's probably as a top
30
25.
receiver.
So what would that mean? What would that be right now?
A top 30 receiver, let's say somebody like T.Y. Hilton.
No, see, I don't know. I think you should be able to get more than that. So a top 25 receiver. Yeah, okay. I'd say a top 25 receiver.
Okay. Jaguars Broncos. I mean, this game has scary written all over it. 28-point spread in this game. I've never in my life seen a 28-point spread. That is just absolutely ridiculous. I have all of the Broncos receivers this week in my top 12. That's how much I believe in the passing game in this game. Going to be a huge, huge blowout. I think Cecil Shorts and Blackman obviously going to get a lot of work in garbage time. Excuse me. Tough for me to move Shorts and Blackman too high, though, just because I'm worried that there may be a lot of 3-and-outs in this game. But, Matt, what do you think? Obviously, there's going to be a lot of garbage time in this game, but what do you think Blackman and Shorts finish with in this game?
I'll be talking about Blackman later. Shorts has been a little banged up, and last week he performed okay, but he's missing practice again this week. So we'll see. I'm not sure what to expect from him, just based off of the injury. If he's good enough to play at his normal higher level, I can see a 90-yard day for him. 6, 7 catches, 90 yards, something like that.
Top 20 day for both of them, you think?
Yeah, I'd say Shorts can be top 25, top 30, but Blackman, I'm expecting bigger things.
All right, wow. Titans Seahawks, Matt. We kind of texted each other the other day about this, but I want to talk about this a little bit more. Percy Harvin.
Hey, you know what? With the bye weeks coming in real quick, I want to go back to the other game. Just as something I don't know if we want to glance over. What do you think about Hillman if you are in dire need of a running back, or maybe Monte Ball? Because like you said, it's going to be a blowout. I think there's going to be a lot of work for these younger backups. So, do you have that train of thought as well, or no? No. Okay.
No.
Well, it's something I'm kind of thinking. So if you're in dire straits, go ahead, pick up Hillman, play him at the flex if you need it.
Yeah, but I mean, best case scenario, how many touches does Hillman get?
I don't know. 12 to 15 if it's 40 to nothing. If
12
it's
to 15?
Yes, if it's 40 to nothing, you know what I mean? Something like that. If it's 40 to 10 come end of the third quarter, Hillman will have already gotten 7 or 8 carries or touches by then. He'll finish out the fourth quarter. Yeah.
Let's say for a second that they're up there 28 points and they're spread. How many touches are you expecting for Noshawn in this game?
I think Noshawn's going to get 16, 17 touches just because of how big a blowout it's going to be that he's not going to get enough late game time.
All right, and how many touches is Monte Ball going to get?
I don't know. That's a wild card. Last week he got 1 carry. Is he going to get 5 in this game?
I think Hillman and Ball each get 10, and I think.
Why do you think it's going to be split? It hasn't been.
It, for the most part, it has up until last week, though. I don't know. Call it. I don't know what you want to call it, but Monte Ball, when they get up big, they give him a majority of the work in that fourth quarter, and I don't know if it's just because they want to get him that work, because they want to see what he can do and kind of get him NFL ready, or what it is. But I just think that he's going to get 10 touches this week. I think Hillman's going to get 10 touches as well, and I think Noshawn ends up with about 15. But even if we're saying best case scenario, going back to Hillman, 12 to 15 touches equals how many fantasy points? 6?
I don't know. I mean, he's capable of breaking off a big play. I don't know.
But now you're expecting 12 to 15 touches, which I think is very high for Hillman.
Hey, in 3 of his last 4, he's had.
And you're banking on him getting a big play. That's a lot to be thinking is going to happen.
In 3 of the last 4 games, he's had double-digit touches. So a game that's going to be a complete blowout, I think the biggest one of the year, why would it be so crazy for him to get 12 to 15 when he's been getting double-digit 3 out of the last 4 anyways?
Yeah, I'm saying double-digit too. I said 10, but 12 to 15 seems high. But let's just say for a second he gets the 15 touches.
Yeah.
What does he finish with for fantasy points?
I think he can score you 8 to 10 this week, and maybe 15 with a touchdown. And if you're talking a flex guy because you're hurting, thank you very much. You'll be saying to me on Twitter.
Wow, I would take that bet all day long. You're telling me that.
Hey, you know what? Let's make a beer bet then. I'm going to say.
You're saying 8 to 10 fantasy points, split it at 9.
All right, 9 points.
I'll even give you the 8. I'll get 8 and under, and you get obviously 9 and over. And there's no way you would win that bet.
Okay, in the last 3, he's had 13.8, 5.7, and 5.9. Hey, it's all right. So 8 points or more for Ronnie Hillman. I win a beer. That's the beer bet.
I have 8 points and less is how that works. You would have 9 points and more.
Fine.
Done. All right, Jesus. Let's move on from this. Way too much time on a backup. Way too much time on a backup running back. Jesus. All right, so again, going back to the Titans Seahawks here, because this is going to be another one we get to fight over right now.
Listen, Jackie Battle is going to...
Moving on. All right, Percy Harvin, though, I got to tell you, though, still no timetable for his return. Russell Wilson last year, averaged 16 completions on only 24 attempts and 195 yards a game. Seahawks like to run the ball and keep the games close, let the defense kind of dictate the games. Only had 3 receiving touchdowns last year in 9 games. Matt, you and I had this big argument about what was Percy Harvin's value over text message the other day. Please explain to me why you think Percy Harvin's value is so high.
He had 3 receiving touchdowns last year, right?
Yes, I think 4 or 5 total touchdowns.
Right. Okay. So it was. I think it was 5. He returns kicks. You'll get a couple a year from him. You're gonna get
two punt return touchdowns.
You're gonna get 1 to 2 a year. No, I mean kick returns, and then you're gonna have the read option play where I think he's gonna give out 4 plays a game in that regard. He's going to be catching the ball. He's going to be involved. The hardest thing for this team so far is the wide receivers getting separation, and that's not a problem for Percy. Russell Wilson isn't a guy that is big on, bombing it down the field. Percy does everything well, but his best thing is the intermediate route, over the middle, the short stuff. I love him in this offense, and I think Pete Carroll's a good coach. He's going to be able to utilize him much better than Leslie Frazier. And let's not forget, last year he did what he was doing. People were talking MVP-type season with Christian Ponder. So I love him in Seattle, and it's looking like, reports what? Is he going to be back week 7 or 8? I don't know. It's speculation right now, but it's looking good.
There's still no official timetable from Seattle.
Right.
And you're comparing him to Christian Ponder, who threw the ball 19% more than Russell Wilson last year.
Which equals still negative 12 compared to, because he's just that bad. He's still that bad. He can do it 50% more time, and it's that bad.
Just so our listeners hear how crazy you are about Percy Harvin and how much disgusting post-Vikings man love you have for him, I jokingly offered you Josh Gordon for him, and you turned that down. That's embarrassing. That is just embarrassing.
Hey, there'll be another beer bet coming when Percy comes back. Josh Gordon versus Percy. Stay tuned.
There definitely will be. That's for sure. All right, Titans side of the ball here. You're not starting anybody except for Chris Johnson, and even Chris Johnson, I think, may be a question mark in this game against the Seattle run defense. But you agree there, nobody else you're starting for the Titans?
No, I hate the Titans with a passion.
Hate the Titans. Done with them. All right, Saints, Patriots. All right, so I originally had it written down that Gronk is back, but now it's sounding like he's not going to be back. After all this talk about him being back this week, Adam Schefter tweets out earlier today that it's sounding less likely like he's going to play. Gronk back, not back. What do you think, Matt? It's sounding like he's not going to play now.
I don't know. I'm sick and tired. Stop asking me. I'm done. Literally, not answering you. Move on.
Wait, just to recap, 5 minutes.
Look, Sunday.
5 minutes on Ronnie Hillman, no time on possible.
We've already spent an hour and a half on Gronkowski. If you talk about every podcast for no reason, he hasn't played yet. Look back Sunday morning. We'll figure it out. They play at 4. Hopefully, have something else set up.
Oh, jeez. All right. Well,
sick and tired of it. I've been saying he's going to play the last 3 weeks, and then now he's still not. Fuck. Never mind.
Should we go back to talking about Percy Harvin?
If you want.
Ronnie Hillman?
I'm playing Ronnie Hillman over Gronk.
Oh, God. All right, so Stephen Ridley in this game, he's still questionable, but it's looking like he's going to play. I think, is it getting to the point now where you're staying away from all Patriots players? I mean, do you feel comfortable starting any Patriots player in this game?
I don't know. I really don't know. I have no clue. I have no idea what the Patriots are going to do.
You don't feel comfortable playing any of them, really, I feel, at this point. Ridley's not getting it done. LeGarrette Blount not really getting the work to get a chance to get it done. Brandon Bolden, 1 week he's being utilized, the next week he's not. Brady obviously not performing Brady-like this year. The receivers, yeah, one of them will probably have a good game, but you don't know which one there. I mean, it's really getting hard to pick a Patriots player and say, yep, I feel really comfortable playing that guy. Whereas in years past, kind of like what we're going to say about the Saints here, you'd start everybody. I mean, it's weird that much of a shift has happened in 5 weeks already.
Well, my favorite Patriot is no question, I mean, other than, I guess, Tom, which I'm not a big fan of lately either. It's going to be Amendola, I think.
Right.
Hopefully he's healthy this week, and he could have a good day, but he'll probably get hurt in the third quarter or something. Who knows?
You feel better about Amendola, but still getting tough. I mean, Amendola, I think, last week finished with 55 yards receiving, so obviously not blazing it up in his first game back, but maybe now with another game under his belt, he kind of goes back to what he was the first week of the year.
Yeah,
Saints
blazing
side,
it up.
huh?
Blazing it up.
Yeah.
I hope not. Not before the game.
Yeah. Saints side of the ball, though, Lance Moore looks like he's going to be out in this game. I'd like to say bump up Meacham and Stills, but I think it actually makes for a bigger day for Sproles, Graham, and Colston. What are your thoughts if Lance Moore misses this game?
Graham, 22 targets. No, but I mean last week there wasn't more than 2 targets at all to a Saints receiver.
Right. Yeah. I think Colston had 2, and that was one of the league best.
So, I mean, yes, Graham's going to play. Other than that, I'm not touching any of them. Colston, yeah, you know what? I'll start Colston. I think he's still going to. I think he's going to be, around 7-8 touchdowns like he usually is. But good luck guessing when it's going to be.
I think Sproles is going to have a good game in this game too. I think he's going to get a little.
Yes, Sproles too. I agree. Sproles. I'm sorry. Yes.
All right. Cardinals 49ers. Kaepernick, I hate you. I hate you with a passion. I hate you.
Done.
So I got to ask Matt. I mean, I know how much I hate Kaepernick, but rest of the season, Colin Kaepernick or Terrell Pryor?
Terrell Pryor. God, that's easy. That's easier than the other questions you asked me tonight.
I like to keep it easy. It's a Friday. We want to get done with this early, right?
Yeah.
Kaepernick or Russell Wilson?
Russell Wilson.
More because Percy's coming back?
Yeah, that helps quite a bit too, but either way, even if he wasn't.
I was going to say Wilson hasn't been having a very good season, but I'd hold out with Wilson with Percy coming back. Now one that I think will make it a lot more difficult, Eli Manning.
Kaepernick.
Yeah, I was going to say I'm going Kaepernick too just because of the upside. Manning
Mid-November, by the way, Crabtree.
I think so. Really? You think so?
Yep, that's what they're saying. Mid-November, late November. So just keep an eye on that. That will help Kaepernick, I think.
Oh, it will greatly help Kaepernick.
Well, I don't know about greatly. This is a serious injury to come back. Achilles, he might not quite have it this year.
I got to ask you real quick though, since we just mentioned Eli Manning, over or under 30 turnovers this year for Eli?
Over. He's already got 15 interceptions, and I imagine a couple fumbles.
Yeah,
So
it's looking real bad for him.
Oh man, it's sad. What happened to him? I don't get it. His brother should just give him a few touchdown passes. It's not like he doesn't have enough.
Yeah, I mean, but yeah, if you picked up both of them in fantasy leagues, you're doing pretty well.
Yeah, take the Manning stats, and they aren't very good.
I saw a really good NFL meme this week about them too. It showed a picture of Peyton kind of pointing towards another picture of Eli, and all it said on it was, "Bro, you know you're adopted, right?"
Yeah.
Terrible. But real quick here on the Cardinals side, can you name me the highest scoring fantasy player for the Cardinals?
The highest scoring fantasy player for the Cardinals is actually surprisingly. You want me to tell you right now?
Yeah.
It's their defense.
Are you looking this up?
No, but I honest to God, I'm not. But am I right?
It is the defense.
Nice.
That's how bad the Cardinals have been this year. When the defense is your biggest fantasy contributor, that's not a good thing to have at all. Larry Fitzgerald, I wrote about him in my Mary Cheat dump this week. Currently the number 24 wide receiver in fantasy points, but most of that was because of a big week 1. Since that week 1 breakout, he's actually the wide receiver 42. So, do you think there's brighter days ahead for Fitz, or do you think he's somebody that you give up on?
Well, we actually talked about this last podcast. Probably another one of those segments where you weren't listening to me, but it's something where
still not listening.
Right, I know you're on the next thing. You're reading about something. I don't know what you're doing. Playing Grand Theft Auto, maybe. He's got to have brighter days ahead, right? I mean.
Palmer looks so bad. So bad.
Yeah, and that offensive line is terrible. Palmer is actually one of the last in the league in yards per attempt, and that's not Palmer. You know what I mean? he's in a shell shock
It's not
situation.
Bruce Arians likes to throw the ball downfield.
Right. Everything's happening that we didn't expect. You know what it is? It's just the offensive line. You can't throw the ball downfield when you get no time. And now he's just in a shell shock form of himself because of the way he's just getting pounded and getting no time. So Palmer is looking terrible. But it's got to get better. Cooper will be coming back, the guard they drafted. That's going to help them. I mean, it's got to get better. It can't be this bad. Palmer is not this bad.
Yeah, he's not this bad. I think it does get a little bit better, but I think those days of me thinking he was a top 5 wide receiver this year are quickly out the window.
Oh, gone. Yeah, no way.
I think if he turns it around and finishes a top 20 wide receiver, then you're a little bit happier than you are now. Redskins, Cowboys, Tony Romo, 10 touchdowns in the last 3 games, going up against the 29th ranked Washington defense. You know, if you take out that game when the Redskins played against Matt Flynn, the Matt Flynn Oakland game, Washington's allowing over 27 fantasy points a game to opposing quarterbacks. That is bad, ladies and gentlemen. That is really, really bad.
Yeah, Matt Flynn's not even a real NFL quarterback.
Yeah,
really, he's not.
Not even on a team anymore.
He's
That's
cut.
how bad Matt Flynn is. But with Miles Austin coming back in this game, so even more weapons for Romo against a terrible defense. I got to ask you, if you had to start one of the guys this week, are you starting Miles Austin or Terrence Williams?
Terrence Williams.
Really, I would have gone Austin there. I just think there's higher upside to Austin because I think he's going to come back in that starting role. And unless he severely disappoints in the first couple series, he's going to stay in as the starter.
Listen to this. Ed Werder from ESPN follows the Cowboys. He actually tweeted no actual information, but he's a guy that knows the Cowboys as good as anybody. He said,
great analysis. He actually tweeted no actual information.
Well, with no actual information, he said that the coaches here are guys that can make changes when people aren't producing. Just keep it in mind in regards to Terrence Williams and Austin, something like that. So just kind of interesting, that tweet. Like I said, he didn't quote any hey, assistant coach told me this, just what he thinks, knowing that team as well as he does. So keep that in mind. But yeah, for me, it's funny we're disagreeing. I'm Williams, you're Austin. You could be perfectly correct. Austin's definitely a good player when he's healthy.
It's pretty much a coin flip. It really is. But like I just said, I think it's more Austin comes in as the starter, and unless he makes a big mistake or unless something happens, he'll remain in as the starter. It's possible he could make that mistake and get benched after 2 series. I mean, that's quite possible. But I'm kind of banking on him coming in and being the starter and staying the starter. Flip side of this, though, Dallas allowing 26 points per game to opposing wideouts, so we should see a nice game from Pierre Garçon. Alfred Morris is gaining 5.3 yards per carries this year, so hopefully during the bye week, the Redskins kind of sat down and realized that they need to feed him the ball a little bit more. So hopefully they give him a little bit more work. But that kind of finishes the wrap up here of the games. So let's jump into a couple of our bold predictions real quick, Matt. We just got done talking about Tony Romo. I'm going to say 4 passing touchdowns and 350 passing yards for Romo this week. I think he's going to have another huge day here against a terrible Washington defense. Alfred Morris, another guy in this game, I think he's going to finish with over 100 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns. And then finally, I'm going to finish it up with my easy one here. Peyton Manning, I know he's going to have a good game. We all know he's going to have a great game. But I'm going to say that he has 5 passing touchdowns at halftime. What do you think of all those bold predictions, Matt?
Holy shit. I want to see that. I really hope he does too.
5 passing touchdowns at the half?
Yeah, that'd be fun to watch.
But
then, you know what? Interesting. You say that, I'll be winning my Hillman bet. Thank you for the beer. I got a couple. I think RG3 is going to have 25-plus fantasy points this weekend. Cowboys defense, 32nd against quarterbacks. They've had the bye week to get things, hopefully a little bit right there. Big rivalry game, so I can see RG3 wanting to come out quiet. The critics, 25 or more for him. I'm going with Justin Blackman again. I'll dip into the well. I gave a great call for you guys last week. Hopefully he proves me right again. I think he's going to have 150 and a touchdown. they're going to have to keep throwing. Yeah, there could be a lot of 3-and-outs, but when you get to make 15 3-and-outs and you get some other opportunities as well because of how often the Jaguars are going to be throwing to try to stay into this game when they're ultimately going to have no chance. I see a good game for Blackman. The other one, I like Willis McGahee to have 115 and a touchdown this week.
Good yards for McGahee?
Yeah, good matchup, like his matchup. So, yeah, those are my 3 this week. And I think we both had a couple good ones this week.
Yeah, the McGahee one I'm a little scared for. His yards per carry is just atrocious. I hate him.
Yeah, I agree, but
my hate for Kaepernick might be outweighed by the hate for Willis McGahee. Those two are real for me for some reason. Sean Moreno also in that running of my hatred. I don't know why, but he's in that running too.
Yeah, but you know what? What did McGahee ever do to you? I can understand Kaepernick. You're 1-4 in the home league. I would be pissed off at him too. But McGahee,
just guys that I think are being way overvalued. Just guys that I think don't have the value everybody's giving them. But make sure to follow Matt and I on Twitter. Me at Marcus Katkin, Matt at Matt Dugal, and keep sending your questions to #BlindsidePod or emailing them to us blindside@blindsidefootball.com. As you know, Matt, Rob, and I all live tweeting every Sunday from noon till 1. So make sure to use the #AskBlindside to kind of ask us your questions on Sunday mornings. So a couple questions we had for the podcast today. Andrew Friedman at AFriedman15 asks, Chris Johnson and Martellus Bennett for Brandon Marshall. Is he giving up too much?
He's getting Brandon Marshall?
Yes.
No, he's not.
Yeah,
I would do that trade.
I would do that trade as well. I think Brandon Marshall is going to be much, much more valuable than Chris Johnson, especially with the matchups like we went over with Chris Johnson for the next couple weeks.
Yeah.
So that's one that you got to skip there. I guess that kind of does it for our questions this week. Not a whole lot of questions, so make sure you keep sending those in to us. Matt, do you have anything you want to add before we end this podcast?
No, I don't. I feel bad outing you on the fact that you're 1-4 in the home league. So what we're gonna do, I think, for the next couple pods.
That's fine. Who's undefeated in the Dynasty League? The league that actually takes skill to see players before they develop. That would be this guy at 5-0. Matt, what are you in the Dynasty League?
Well, I was actually being nice there for a minute, and I was going to say that we're going to track your comeback to the road to the playoffs.
There's no being nice in fantasy football. Matt, where are you in the Dynasty League?
I don't remember, but honestly...
Oh, come on. Tell the listeners.
No, hey, I swear to you that I never look at the league. This is the second time I haven't set my lineup. Unfortunately, I'm a terrible owner in that league. What is my record? I don't know, I swear.
You were 1-4 in the Dynasty League.
Oh, that's terrible. Even in our home league, I mean,
Where'd you finish the Dynasty League last year?
The one when I took over the team halfway through the season.
No,
I don't know.
You took it over halfway through. You took it over at the beginning of the year.
Nobody cares.
Dead last.
The home league is what matters.
Last.
The home league is what matters.
Oh God.
I don't pay attention.
I guess that does it for our podcast. Again, I just want to say, our hearts out to Adrian Peterson and his family.
Definitely.
Just, again, don't ask any questions on Twitter about that fantasy impact. And hopefully we'll have a little bit, more upbeat podcast for you on Tuesday. Hopefully it won't be all full of rants and depressing things like this one was. So we'll talk to you guys on Sunday morning, and then we'll see you again on the podcast on Tuesday.
See ya!
Yo, check it, it's my time. I'm rapping about Blindside, fantasy football podcast in this rhyme because they got me the inside scoop on Adrian Peterson. Yeah, he's that dude on Cam Newton. Yeah, they give me the news more on Megatron, Calvin Johnson if I stay tuned. On all quarterbacks, RG3 happens to be the fastest QB in the league. In fact, Colin Kaepernick is rider QB for them 49ers. It ain't hard to see, Some awesome people hosting Marcus Katkin and Matt Dugal. You should be joining. Skinny or fat, short or tall, anyone can tune in to Blindside Football. Have a try, dude. Listen on iTunes or blindsidefootball.com too.